Hi, Group 3. Today we're working on Lesson 21 problem set. Okay, so make sure you have that out. You're also going to need colored pencils. You need a red, yellow, green, and blue colored pencil for the lesson. So hit pause and then get your colors out, and then you can start again. Okay, so for part 1, we need to use the unit fractions to count up on the number line and label the missing fractions. We're worried about numbers in the boxes. We need to fill those in. They don't all stand for whole numbers. You can see the 1 here has a box, but so do things that are less than 1 whole and in between the 1 whole and 2 wholes. Okay, the other thing that's happening here is that you've got fractions you're marking on the top and different fractions you're marking on the bottom of the same number line. So what we want to focus in on is that on the top, we're marking fractions that have solid tick marks. The bottom, we're marking fractions that have solid and dotted. Okay? So let's just pretend the bottom part isn't even there. We're going to look at the top. So at 0, what would we make that fraction be? Well, we don't know what our denominator is until we look maybe at one of these other ones. We see it's halves. We can see that there's if we go from solid tick mark to solid tick mark, there's 1/2, and here we are at the second one. We know that these are 2 sections, so this is going to be 0 halves. Okay, after 2 halves comes 3 halves. Now on the bottom, it shows us we're working with fourths right here at the 0. So I'm going to start numbering my fractions. We have 1/4, 2/4, here's 3/4, 4/4, 5/4, 6/4, 7/4, 8/4. Okay, 8 divided by 4 is 2, so I know I ended up at the right spot. Okay, that's all we're going to do for number 1. For number 2, or excuse me, the second part, we're going to do the same thing, except we have to figure out what fractions we're labeling on the top and which ones we're labeling on the bottom. So on the top, I see there's a half again, so I know I've got halves. So I don't have to worry about marking my 0 halves. Here's 1/2, 2 halves, this would be 3 halves, and 4 halves. Now on the bottom I see I'm talking about sixths, and if this fraction wasn't in here, I could count the number of sections between 0 and 1 to see what fractional piece I'm talking about. Here's 1 section, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Remember, I'm looking at both the solid tick marks and the dotted tick marks for this type of number line. The bottom part only though, okay? So if this is 0/6, our first tick mark is 1/6. This next one is 2/6, but we don't have to label that. So that makes this one 3/6. And we've got 4/6, 5/6, 6/6. Check, we got the right spot. 7/6, 8/6, here's 9/6. Whoops, my pencil went crazy. 10/6, 11/6, 12/6. Okay? If you have any questions about how to fill in those number lines, please ask an adult when they're not working with another group so you can understand what to do for your homework. Okay? This next section gets into the colors. So we're going to start with blue, and it says use the number lines above to color fractions equal to 1/2 blue. I'm going to get my blue color here, and I'm going to find a half, and that's blue, and anything that matches up with it is also going to be blue. So 1/2 and 2/4 are both equal to 1/2. Down here we've got a half and 3/6, so 1/2 and 3/6 are equal. Okay, so now you're going to take your yellow, do same idea for fractions equal to 1. So here's my 1 on my number line. I'm going to color anything above it or below it yellow. So we've got 2 halves, 4/4, whoops, 2 halves, and 6/6. And that makes sense because we know at 1 our numerator and denominator are the same, and all of these numerators and denominators match. All right, green. I'm going to get my green. Color fractions equal to 3 halves green. Here's 3 halves, and the 6/4 matches up with it. And here's 3 halves on the bottom number line, and 9/4. All those should be green. The last one is red. Let's see if I can find a red. Here's a red. Okay, I'll pick red, and I need a color fractions equal to 2, red. So here's my 2. I'm going to color this fraction and this fraction. So 4 halves and 8 fourths are both 2. 4 halves and 12 sixths are both 2. Okay, so your number line should look like that. You have vertical columns with matching colors, because that tells you they're at the same point on the number line. Okay, so that's the end of the coloring part. Let's go to the back side. Number 3 says use the number lines on page 1 to make the number sentences true. So what we're doing is we're finding what we call, I'm going to write it up here, equivalent fractions. Okay, and this big fancy word just means equal. Fractions that are equal. It's a U. Oh boy. So it's E-Q-U-A-L. And you can kind of see the word, part of the words equal are the same as equivalent. So that's a way to remember what equivalent means. It's that it's equal. So we're going to find 2 fourths on our number line. So I need to find where fourths are. Here's 2 fourths. And now I need to look at what number matches it that is looking at 6. So I have to go down all the way to the bottom and find that it's 3 sixths. 2 fourths and 3 sixths are equal. Okay. So the next one, 6 sixths is equal to 2 over what, which is equal to what over what? So if I find 6 sixths, that's right here. This is my yellow column. So that's the same as 2 over 2, 2 halves. And another fraction that matches that is also 4 fourths. Okay? All those yellows are equal to each other. Then the last one is 3 halves, so that's my green section. How many sixths are equal to 3 halves? Well, I've got to go to the bottom number line. That's 9 sixths. And 6 over what is equal to 3 halves? Well, here's that 6. It's 6 fourths. Okay, so that's how you use that number line to fill in those equivalent fractions. All right. 2 more here. Now we're into the word problems. Jack uses a rain gauge, that's how you spell that name, or word, that's how you say that word, marked in fourths of an inch. Okay, so here's his rain gauge marked in fourths. Jill's gauge measures rain in eighths of an inch. That's this one. So I'm just going to label those. Jack for this one, Jill for this one. On Thursday, Jack's gauge measured 2 fourths inches of rain. What was the reading on Jill's gauge? Yes, Thursday. Use the number lines to solve. So this is the same idea that we did over here. We just turned the number lines. Okay, so we're looking between 0 and 1. Jack measured 2 fourths. So this is going to be 0 fourths, 1 fourth, 2 fourths. I'm going to plot a point on there, and I'm going to label it 2 fourths. Okay, so to find what the reading on Jill's gauge is, we need to just look straight across. Okay, these are going to be equal. So I have to figure out what this point on Jill's number line is. Well, we said it said it was eighths, so this is 0 eighths, 1 eighth, 2 eighths, 3 eighths, 4 eighths. Okay, so our answer is going to be Jill's gauge measured 4/8 inches. Okay. Same idea as we did here, where we had colored equal fractions, same color. We just flipped it vertically this time and went across to see what was equal. All right, last one. Jack and Jill's brother, Franco, is that what that says? It's so small. Also had a gauge. He told Jack and Jill that there had been 1/2 inch of rain on Thursday. Is he right? Why or why not? Use words and a number line to explain your answer. Okay, well, let's figure out where a half is. So we're going to make a 0, a 1, and here's 1/2. 1/2. Okay. We need to compare it to one of these. Well, I like to pick the number lines that have fewer sections. So I'm going to pick the fourths because we know Jacks and Jills are equal, so we can choose whichever one we want. So draw a number line. I've got to line up my 0 and 1 to show that I'm measuring a hole, the same size hole. Okay. And now I need 4 sections. Well, halfway is going to match up with my half. I'm going to make a half section halfway through there and a section halfway through here. So this is going to be 0/4, 1/4, 2/4. That is what the rain was that day. Is that equal to a half? Oops. Well, yeah, those line up. Okay. So we need to use words to describe that. And I'm at a space at the bottom, so I'm going to have to squeeze it in over here. Oh, Roscoe, that's what that says. Roscoe is right because 1/2 lines up exactly with 2/4. Okay, they are equivalent or equal. Okay, so get started on your homework. Again, make sure you ask any questions you need to. This is a really important idea, this idea of equivalent fractions and finding them on a number line.